So before we get to today's video, I just wanted to quickly ask for any of you watching if you could just hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get as many followers as possible just so that I can continue to make more videos and hopefully make a career out of this someday. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll get to the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Noble Crumb. My name is Jason. So today what we're going to be making is, I think, pretty much my favorite cookie in the whole world, which I call corn pops. It has absolutely nothing to do with the cereal, just to be clear, but they are really fantastic. They're not really sweet, and they have like a saltiness to them, which is really good. I think you're really going to enjoy them. So let's take a look at the ingredients that you'll need. So here's what you're going to need for the corn pop cookies. We're going to need 1 cup of butter at room temperature, 1.5 cups of sugar, 1 egg, 1 1/3 cups of flour, 1/4 cup of corn flour, 1 cup of ground freeze-dried sweet corn, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and we're going to bake at 350 for 18 minutes. Okay, so for the cookies, there's going to be 2 ingredients that you probably won't have on hand, but they're really not that hard to find. The first one is going to be freeze-dried sweet corn. I honestly just got mine from Amazon. It's super easy, super quick, but freeze-dried sweet corn. You might be able to also find it at your local health food store, but I'll show you a quick link on Amazon where I found mine. The other ingredient is corn flour. So not to be confused with corn starch or corn meal, but corn flour. I was actually really lucky to find it just at my local bulk food store, so that was really simple. But those are the only 2 ingredients that you probably will have to kind of go out of your way to find, because most of us won't have it in our kitchen. Okay, so just to help you find the freeze-dried sweet corn, I'm just going to Amazon here, type in freeze-dried sweet corn, and this is what it looks like. This is all you'll really need, so super easy. I've used this brand before, and it's really good. And then Nutri-Store is also a really good one. So whatever you find is in your budget, that's totally fine, but grab it, it's fantastic. Okay, so I have my stand mixer here fitted with my paddle attachment, and now we're going to start creaming together the butter, sugar for about 3 minutes, and then we're going to add in the 1 egg, and we're going to let that go for another 5 to 6 minutes. I know that seems like a long time, but here's a tip for creaming the butter and sugar for you. Okay, so I just want to explain a little bit about creaming your butter and your sugar, because I learned a couple years ago that I was kind of doing it wrong. So typically, when I'm making cookies and things like that, and I would cream my butter and sugar, I wasn't creaming them enough, and I tended to overmix the dry ingredients when I was combining everything together. So when you're creaming your butter and sugar, the purpose of it is so that the sugar will actually kind of dissolve into your butter and create like an even distribution throughout your cookie dough. You're also going to be incorporating air, which adds to the texture of your final cookie that is baked. So typically now when I bake cookies and I'm going to whip my butter and sugar together, I leave it for about 7 minutes. I know that might seem like a long time, but it incorporates the air, your sugar gets dissolved, and it honestly does make a huge difference. So definitely I would say whip your butter and sugar, or cream your butter and sugar I should say, for about 7 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so here we go. We're going to add in our 1 cup of butter and our 1.5 cups of sugar, and we're going to start this off. Okay, so this has been going for 3 minutes with just the butter and sugar. Give everything a good scrape down. And then we're going to add in our 1 egg. And now we're going to let this go for about another 6 minutes. Okay, so this has been going for about 6 minutes, And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And give that a quick mix for about 30 seconds just to get it combined in there. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is give this a quick scrape down and then we'll start adding our dry ingredients. So you can see after we've creamed this for about, again, probably close to almost 10 minutes now altogether. Look at the consistency of this. It is super thick, super whipped. We've got lots of nice air in there. So now with this, we're going to put this back onto the mixer with the paddle attachment and we're going to start adding our dry ingredients. So the next quick tip is not over mixing your dry ingredients. And this is something that a lot of us do because we just want to think that everything is combined really good together. But when we add in our dry ingredients, what happens is when we start mixing in with flour, we start working the glutens in the flour, which can lead to a tough and not a really great texture of a cookie. Whereas what we want to do is just mix it enough so that it's combined. And trust me, it works, and I'll show you how I mix in my dry ingredients. Okay, so now that I've got my butter and sugar and egg whipped, I'm going to start adding in about half of our dry mixture at the beginning. We'll get that combined in there first. So we're just going to go on very slow because we don't want to over mix it to work up those glutens in the flour. We just want to go slow. Okay, so now at this point that is kind of combined, so we're not going to get flour everywhere. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of our dry ingredients. And then we're just going to mix this just until it's combined together. Okay, and that's literally it. At this point, all the flour has been combined with the butter and egg mixture. I'm not over mixing it. This is done. Okay, so with these cookies, because they are very basic, you do have the option, if you want, to add in some extra ingredients. I've done these ones. I've added white chocolate chips to them before. I've added cashews and different kinds of nuts and chocolate, things like that. Feel free, go right ahead, you can. I personally prefer them just as they are. Again, like I said before, they're not an overly sweet cookie. They have a slight saltiness, so if you do want to add some extra sweetness to it, go for it. Oh, and you can also even like drizzle some icing on top of it, which is a nice little treat too. Your kids might really like it, but it's totally up to you. I think as they are plain, they're fantastic. All right, so you can see everything's nicely combined. So now what I'm gonna do is scoop out my cookies. So I've got my regular cookie sheet here lined with parchment paper. I give it a quick little spray with oil, and I'm gonna use my large cookie scoop here to make the cookies themselves. So basically, I flatten it out so it's just one full scoop. Comes out like that. Put them on the tray, and basically at this point, all you're gonna do is with your 2 fingers, you just wanna pat it down so it's not a complete mound. When these bake, they're gonna melt down into perfect circles, so you're actually gonna get some really nice looking cookies. I'm gonna fill this tray up, and then we're gonna put them into the fridge for a minimum of 1 hour. If you can do it for about 2 to 3 hours to let them set up, that would be even better before you bake. So, chilling your dough. So this doesn't have to be used for all cookies, but this one, it's really important. So this cookie dough is very buttery. If we were to take the cookie dough right now, put it into the oven, what's gonna happen with warm butter when you put it in a hot oven? It's just gonna melt and your cookies are just gonna be flat and pancake and not good. So we wanna chill our dough. You make it into the balls, which I'll show you, flatten them a little bit, put them in the fridge for minimum an hour. I would leave them for 2 or 3 hours. It gives the butter a chance to harden up, And when it goes into the heat, it creates a nice even layer. The other great thing about chilling your dough is you can actually make these in advance. So you can go ahead, make your dough, make your little dough balls, flatten them out, put them in a container. You could freeze it, you can leave them in your fridge, and you can bake them at a later date, so it makes it super convenient. Okay, so here's my first tray. So I usually do 9 on a cookie sheet here just to give it a little bit of room. So I've got approximately 16 cookies out of this one, just depending on the size of scoop you use. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller, but these guys are gonna go in the fridge and I'm gonna leave them in there for 2 hours. Okay, so it's been 2 hours now, and I've just taken my cookie dough out of the fridge, so the butter has set up really nice and firm now, you can see. So now we're gonna pop them into the oven at 350 for 18 minutes. You'll notice as they're cooking, they will probably puff up a bit. And then once we take them out and they cool down, they're gonna actually shrink down and go nice and flat. So put these in 18 minutes and I'll show you what they look like when they're done. Okay, so it's been about 18 minutes now, and if we look inside here, you can see that these cookies have really puffed up. They won't look like that once they've kind of deflated when they come out of the oven. I'll show you what they look like. But I'm gonna take these guys out now. They're perfect after 18 minutes. So now that the cookies have come out of the oven, you're going to want to leave them on the pan for about 5-8 minutes before moving them to your cooling rack, because they're going to be super soft, and if you try to move them, they're probably going to break on you. Leave them on the cooling rack, let them cool completely, store them in a container. It's as easy as that. Okay, so after leaving them on the pan to cool for about 5 minutes, you can take them off and look at how nice these guys look. So they've got just started to go golden brown around the outside. After you leave them on the pan for 5 minutes, put them on your cooling rack, let them cool completely, and they are good to go. You guys are gonna love these cookies. All right, and that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I really hope you try this recipe, because it is something that's a little bit different. They're fantastic and something that you probably haven't had every day. So thank you very much for joining me on the Noble Crumb. Please, as always, like, subscribe, comment. I love to hear from you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.